Listen, I got something I want to share with you. You listening? Okay. Now that I got your attention. Yeah, I lost my voice. I'm getting it back. So don't worry about that though, right? So I don't know if anybody who's watching this, if you're watching this right now, have you ever heard of the story of the circus elephant? Right? Now, the circus elephant, right, as a child, he is connected to a stake when he's not performing. He's connected to a steel stake with a chain coming from the stake that's connected to the ankle of the elephant, of the baby elephant. Now, as he is conditioned as a child, as a baby, whatever you want to call it, right? As a small elephant, he recognizes the fact that he cannot move when he tries to move, right? He can't move at all. Once he accepts that, he accepts the fact that he cannot move, cannot progress past a certain point, and he becomes an adult. They no longer have to put a steel stake in, they put a wooden stake. I mean, I don't know why they would chance it, but, you know, because the elephant now has internally, subconsciously digested the fact that it can no longer move. It can't move, right? Now, the only difference between the dichotomy of black people and, per se, an elephant, a circus elephant, is the fact that this conditioning and programming that I speak of, that the elephant does not even try to go past the point to where it used to try to go past as a child and got that resistance and got yanked back. I can't go no further. Damn, 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 I can't go no further. You know, I was listening to something and it said that people who come from places that are not free appreciate freedom more than people who are born into it. So just imagine black people fresh out of slavery, believing that all they needed to do was to not have the whip hit their back, for them to be able to move freely in society without being faced with consequences that were deadly. And that once we got out of that situation, we would be free. But every time we tried to move, we realized there was resistance, there was lynching, there was black codes, there were vagrancy codes, right? That said that, oh, well, you know, you can't go but so far. And if you go but so far, your ass is gonna get lynched. You need to read a book, 100 Years of Lynching, and really see the stories of what was going on, the castration, the cutting off of the balls, the selling of the eyeballs, the nose, cutting off the nose and selling it and pickling it in a jar, pickling fingers and hands and cutting off, cutting out livers and cutting up pieces of liver and selling it in the car, taking pictures and then selling postcards for $5 in 1919, which is like, that's like selling a postcard with a black man hung on it today for like $300, $400, $500. So just think about it, right? If the elephant got conditioned, right? Elephant knew, well, thought that it was correct, that it couldn't move any further because it was conditioned as a child. Then just imagine what 350 something years of chattel slavery, right? Or if you go with the European version of the textbook version of events. You know, slavery started in 1619, ended in 1865. So we got to be looking at what? That's 246 years. If we go with their start of it, but you know, Christopher Columbus came in the late 1400s, so I don't think they just waited 120 years to do what they did. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Right, so if you were conditioned, see, the elephant is only conditioned for less than a generation. It's conditioned for less than a generation, right? Which conditions it into accepting the fact that it can't move any further, or falsely accepting the fact that it can't move any further, and that's why they can put a wooden stake down, right? Now, black people, right, obviously in today's world, people are like, black people are making excuses. You can do this if Ben Carson become a heart surgeon, if this person can become a Supreme Court justice, if Kamala Harris can become the vice president, if Barack Obama can become the president. You're right, but we ain't even really competing for the power in this country. Matter of fact, we're not competing at all. That's why they say, oh, the first black person to do this, the first black person to do this, because all they want you to do is to compete, to be the first black person to do something that white people have already been doing. Because if you don't compete to be the first person to do something, not the first black person, that means that you're trying to achieve things that have already been achieved. The first black person to do this, the first black person to do that. So the standard is white, is white European accomplishment. Is not the standard of human accomplishment. If it was the standard of human accomplishment, then we would be striving, right, to do what no human being has ever done. Now think about this, right? Why aren't we striving to do what no human being has ever done, and striving to be the first black person to do this and the first black person to do that? Because that is the chain that is on our leg. We were murdered into, there were certain elements of black people murdered into, right? They were lynching black people and murdering black people, as a warning, as a threat to the rest of black, because they would tell certain why you're down here telling Negroes that they should move up north. You're down here telling they had a black man trying to tell black people to go back to Africa, and he got hung. He wasn't telling black people to kill white people. They said, you're down here messing with our good Negroes. You're down here putting toxic ideas in their brains. Us and our Negroes got a good relationship. So if you keep poisoning the brains of our Negroes, we're gonna kill you, nigger. And that's exactly what they did. They killed him. So black people having to adjust to a power paradigm that they had no power, and that the white side of America had all the power. They had the power to murder them. They had the power to legislate against them. They had the power to use the judicial and a system against them. They had the power to use the police against them. They had the power to use the government against them totally. And that regular white folks could just lynch a black person and get away with it. How do you think that that's not conditioning? Do you think that killing Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, right, incarcerating Marcus Garvey and then deporting him, falsely incarcerating him on false charges and then deporting him, was not a direct threat to black people? From W.E.B. Du Bois going from being the beloved of white America because he would attack other black people on behalf of white America, and then he realized that he was a pawn. He turned into, he was already flirting with Pan-Africanism, turned into a full-fledged Pan-Africanist, turned his way, and he died in Africa. And he died in Africa, right? So I want you to think about that elephant and how that elephant thought it couldn't move, but it could move. And how black people in this country think that we can't move. Oh man, I can't do this because I'm black. I can't do that because I'm black. I can't. And it's like, oh, you have a victim mentality. You've been victimized into a victim mentality that's advantageous for white America. White America does not want you to actually take advantage of the opportunities that are in America, because you'll be in direct competition with them, and your children will be in direct competition with their children. And then the billions and trillions of dollars that they make off of us being the #1 contributors to the gross domestic product, the GDP, which keeps the economy moving, because consumers must spend money in a capitalist society that's based off of debt. Because if the economy doesn't grow, then that means that the debt can't be serviced and paid off. So who's helping big corporations that are taking out massive amounts of debt to expand, to grow, to conquer new markets? Who's giving them that money by purchasing their products the most, it's black people. I mean, not in every sector, but as a whole, as far as contributing to the gross domestic product of this country, black people are known to be the #1 consumers. We make the least, and we spend the most. So we're at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to income, but at the top of the totem pole when it comes to spending. You know what I mean? So when disingenuous whites or white people who make these statements that black people don't take advantage of the opportunities, we're playing victim. Yeah, we are playing a role that we were born into, birthed into, right? And it's not like we consciously decided to play the role of victim. We were born victimized, which we became victims because nobody taught us how to become victorious. And it's because, there's a quote, right, by John Henrik Clarke. He said, powerful people cannot afford to educate the people that they oppress, because once you are truly educated, you won't ask for power. You'll take it. And there's another quote by Walt Whitman. I drive over the bridge every day, almost, man, from Jersey to Philly, right? Walt Whitman, he said, I live to be the ruler of life and not a slave, to live life as a powerful conqueror, and nothing exterior to me will ever take control of me. I don't think that one is verbatim, but you get the gist of it, right? Powerful people will not educate you on how to get out of the situation that you're in, that they've put you in. And the most powerful people on the face of this planet is the white power structure. Now, the everyday white person may not feel that they have as much power as a Joe Biden, as a Donald Trump, as a whoever, as a Elon Musk, as a whoever, you know what I mean, that has power, right? That looks like them. They may feel like they don't have power, but the reality of the situation is that they have power. The criminal justice system, right, it will not be reformed unless majority of whites say that we cannot continue to allow the masses of young black people to be criminalized to support and maximize the profits of the prison industrial complex. It just can't keep going on. But since white people, there's a study that says that most white people agree that the criminal justice system is unjust, but they don't have a will to change it. They don't want it. They don't want it to change because it's not affecting them as much as it's affecting us. And to be quite frank, you can't practice racism consciously. You can't go through the 4 layers of competence, right? Now, in any area, right? Which is one, you don't know that you don't know. That's the first level of incompetence. And the second level of incompetence, you know that you don't know, right? You know that you don't know. Which if you're willing to work and get to the next level, right? You can become consciously competent. You can fill the gap, the void, through knowledge and information. So when white people first grabbed us, right, you know what I mean, they may have not been, competent racists. they had some time to figure it out and divvy it out. And after having some time to figure it out and divvy it out, you know what I mean, they became very skilled. And they had hundreds of years to go from being unconsciously competent to, unconsciously incompetent to consciously incompetent, and then filling the gap and becoming consciously competent, and then becoming unconsciously competent at being racist, which is the most dangerous level, because now you don't have to think about being racist. It's an unconscious thing. And as a tribe of people, right? It's this tribe of people. And they can swim. I think there's something like Southeast Asia or something. They can swim. They live on the water. They built their homes on water, right? And they can swim to the bottom of this lake that they live in, without coming up for air. And they can be under the water for like 8 to 10 minutes. And you can't even be under the water for 30 seconds, right? But they've adapted. It's people that live in elevated places, on top of mountain ranges, where air is thinner. that they're not affected by that thin air because their bodies have adapted to that environment. But you go up there and you're gonna be short of breath real fast. So dig the move because it's way too smooth. If you don't think on both sides of this equation, white people had genetically adapted, right, and subconsciously adapted to thinking that it's their God-given right to dominate and control black people. And then birthing and having children after 250 years of actually living that. Every 15 to 20 years is a new generation. If we just go off of 20 years, right? Let's go off of 20 years. That means that we're looking at 12 and a half generations of white people being in total and complete domination of black people. And if we don't think that just by ending slavery and letting black people hypothetically go free, that all of a sudden that cure white people? It didn't cure white people. We're no longer racist because we're gonna let you go. We died letting you go. No, you died saving your union because the South wanted to separate from the North. You know what I mean? So you said you wanted to entice black people to leave those plantations and to run to the North to fight for the North. So you hypothetically, you did the Emancipation Proclamation, right? Which was not a law, but it was an Emancipation. It was the Emancipation Proclamation a couple years before the end of slavery in the Civil War. It was around the time of the beginning of the Civil War, and at that point, you said black people can come and fight for us, and after the war can be free if they win. But anyway, right? I just want y'all to think about conditioning. You've been conditioned. You've been conditioned to think that you are inferior in the deepest parts of yourself. The deepest parts of yourself are telling you inferior, and you don't even know it, because subconsciously, just like if whites were programmed to feel as though on a subconscious level that their God-given right is to control and dominate every part of black people's lives, then black people on a subconscious level were also taught that their life should be controlled and dominated by whites. And we live this out. We live it out. If you go into the black community, 98% of the stores in the black community are not owned by black people. They're owned by other people. A vast majority of the apartment complexes, a vast majority of the homes that people are renting and living in, they're not owned by black people. We don't live in a black community. We live in a colony that's being the profit and the economics is being sucked out of our community, and this is why we live in a ghetto. But yet we spend $1.7 trillion a year, more than the gross domestic product of a lot of European countries. And if you take a trip to Europe, you'll see they living good. So why are we living bad? And why are they telling us the reason why we're in the position? Because we're not taking advantage of the opportunities. No, we're not taking advantage of the money that we're giving y'all. And y'all want to keep that bread. Y'all want to keep that money in your pocket. We understand it. But we demanded that y'all look at this thing from another perspective. And if you're offended by what I'm saying when I say white people, that's on you, man. Like this is a genuine talk that I'm having. I'm really attempting to word this in a way that doesn't divide black people from white people, but in a way that we can see the truth from a realistic standpoint. When somebody goes through something for 12 generations and you tell that person to just get over it, you a fucked up person. You are a very uncompassionate individual. You know what I mean? And it's something that you never went through. It's something that you don't know how to get out of because, like I just said, you never went through it. So you're just like, just get over it because it's convenient for you. And that's the problem. White people don't want to deal with talking about these issues because it's sensitive to them. And somewhere inside of you, you feel responsible, which you are because you hold the power. You're not responsible for what happened yesterday. Well, okay, yeah, the argument is that, why should people who never owned slaves pay people reparations, right? Who were never slaves. Yeah, but my ancestors were, and it's it's a large part of the reason why we're in the condition that we are in this country today, and why we don't have wealth. Also, the wealth stealing during 120 years of open terrorism on black people when it came to lynching. And the crack cocaine, the federal government and the CIA smuggling drugs into our community to destabilize us and to take us away from being wanting to take control of the politics, the economics, and the social things that are going on in our communities. We had the Black Panther Party, we had Martin Luther King, we had the Nation of Islam and Malcolm X, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In the 60s and in the 70s, very strong black people. How did we go from that, from wanting to be in political, economic, and social control over our communities, instead of being dominated from the outside like a colony? How do we go from that into selling drugs that come from third world countries, a geopolitical issue that quote unquote Americans, black Americans, shouldn't be pressed about why we're selling drugs that come from third world countries, when those nations should be pressed about the criminal element in their nations that are smuggling the drugs that wind up in the black community. You don't fight a war against cancer when a person is in the last stage of cancer. They're gonna die. They don't got much time. My aunt died 3 to 4 weeks after she was diagnosed with leukemia. She was in the last stage. And my other aunt died a couple weeks after she was diagnosed. So why would you try to fight a war against drugs in its last destination in the hands of a dealer on the corner of an American city street? Ask yourself that question. And why are you comfortable that this was the policy for the past 40 years? You didn't classify drug cartels as terrorist organizations and say that we have to invade Mexico. We got to invade Colombia. We got to invade Nicaragua. We got to invade Panama. We got to invade all of these places to where these drugs is coming from, because these terrorist cartels are terrorizing black America and destroying the wealth that their people fought to create. And I can say so much about this. I'm going to end right here. You know what I mean? I'm going to end right here. Both black and white people have been conditioned to see the world through blurry lenses, through unclear glasses. Less than 2020. To see the world for not what it is, but for what the false paradigm that we've accepted tells us the world is. We both have mental issues based upon it, but your mental issues give you an advantage, a false sense of confidence, a false sense of authority, you feel like the world is your oyster, because for so long it has been. You feel like it's no problem with you dominating and controlling everything, which that's fine. That's why certain false paradigms inside of people's minds actually do good for them. When people say that they take responsibility for everything, and everything is not necessarily your fault, but if you take responsibility for it, then you can find the solution. But if you place blame on someone else, then you don't have to do anything. So I understand that, right? A false paradigm actually working, positively for someone who's trying to attempt to do something, right? All right, yeah. But a negative paradigm, a negative false paradigm, that the world is against you. It's nothing that you can do. It's nothing, you know, I'm just, you know, I don't feel like things like that don't happen for people like me. I'm being a ghetto my whole life, and I was on welfare. I'm gonna be on welfare. My grandma was on welfare. We got 3 generations, 4 generations. We all welfare recipients. You know what I'm saying? So when they got us locked in. And anybody knows that if you got the gross domestic product Italy, a group in America called black people, if you got the gross domestic product, if you were a separate nation of European nations, that means that you are a economic powerhouse that if you actually unite and get it together, you could challenge the power paradigm in this country. They don't want you to do that. They don't want you living healthy. Because if we're just Americans, then they would treat us just like Americans. You're an American. And since you're an American, we're going to make sure that the Americans who are most in need, not just those who just happen to be black, right, are helped. You know, and I was listening to a black, he was saying, you know what? I'm going to end this video right here. My name is Abdul Muhammad. I go by 1 AM. I'm an artist. I'm an intellectual. I'm a businessman. Right? I'm an economist. I'm a self-trained economist, right? Anyway, I want you to click the like button. I want you to click the subscribe button. I want you to click the share button, and I want you to help get this message out there because both black and white people need to hear this. You know what I mean? And we need to have a discussion. Black and white people, we need to have a talk, a real talk. An honest talk, and they got to be with the right people. It can't be with the wrong people that's disingenuous or they got a little bit of hate in their heart on both sides. You know what I mean? Only people that got justified hate is black people, but you know, we ain't gonna go into why we, you know, but it ain't, you know, but it's something that we all have to get over. You know what I mean? Because black people never done anything as a whole to white people for white people to be mad at all black people. You can be mad at a black person, but who did you wrong, but you can't be mad at all black people because all black people have not wronged you, historically or presently. And we have some historical issues with whites. And a lot of these issues are not present issues. So the thing is, if whites can get over their guilt, and us as black people can get over our anger, we can have a conversation. And if y'all ready to have that conversation, like, follow, subscribe. Peace.